Welcome to the Embodied Wisdom Podcast.
Okay, so Ulrika, I would love to start by just getting a really clear idea of who you are, who you serve, and how you came to do this spiritual work, because you do a
Mm,
lot.
I do.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
how did this come to be?
Oh, so how it came to be. Well, who am I? I am a being, of course, of spiritual nature, but I have not always identified myself that way.
Mm,
I started out, if you kind of want to put the perspective to it, started out like a businesswoman,
mm,
in the corporate world, had everything. So I thought, the material wealth that often, traditionally, I wouldn't say traditionally, but many times we define success in terms of achievements that can be seen and, a nice house, etc. Right.
yeah.
And I followed that traditional path, if you will, in the beginning of my career. And uh, work has always been, that's my path, right? Work has been my lesson. That's how my spirit is coming through with lessons. I realized in hindsight. So work had already always been very important to me. So a couple of years ago, quite a few years ago now, I lost my job, and that kind of made me realize that I totally identify with my job, and I don't know who I truly am. And once I realized that, it opened up an opportunity for me to kind of, okay, what is there more? What more is there for me to explore as a person? And that's when the major shift came. I started my own business on the side. I still had my corporate job, and after a year or two, I switched to becoming an entrepreneur.
Hmm.
So the mode of growth, spiritual growth, has happened through work. But to go from being a corporate person, scientist, to being an intuitive astrologer, spiritual life coach, you name it, the Reiki master, like all of it. That is a major shift. But I also can speak from experience in terms of that's what a lot of people go through
Yeah.
these
Well,
times.
I find that there's for those of us who've started on this journey, it usually comes at a pain point, right? Some people experience a loss of a person in their life.
Yeah.
Some people, like for me, it was my childhood trauma that really woke me up. But it tends to be
Yeah.
pain and grief that sort of wakes us up and
Hmm.
and offers us that opportunity to look within and say, what the hell am I doing with my
Yes.
life? Right. And I think a lot of people, that was right around COVID, where we were locked up. We were trapped in our house and we weren't able to do, and it really gave us this beautiful opportunity to look at our lives and say, okay, am I doing the things that light
Mm.
my heart on fire, or am I just in the rat race, which it sounds like your life very much was, of like, oh, this is success, until you got to that place where you lost your job. And it was like that grieving process of that identity, who you thought you were.
Mm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And how long
Yeah.
ago was that?
So this must have been, I quit my corporate job in 2019 and a couple of years before that. So yeah, I would say anytime between 2014 and 19 was a major shift going on.
Wow.
Um, and now I work with people's um, multidimensional self, if you will,
Hmm.
which is really also where we are. Humanity's evolution is to be really, truly getting to know who we are as a being,
Yeah.
rather than just the physical kind of day to day
Yeah, we're going from like
kids.
third to like fifth density realization here.
Yes, yeah, and this is a major expansion that I have gone through myself in terms of how to relate to this, because there's there's some grounding that is needed for it, right? So yeah, I'm just so excited to do this work of primarily galactic astrology.
Yeah, let's get
And
into that.
yeah, because it's a new practice, or I wouldn't say it's a new practice, but it's a way of relating to our bigger self, as I call it. But
Yeah.
yeah, and I have
So
kind
let's talk about what it is first, because
Mhm.
probably the majority of people would have no idea what that even means. So let's define it and talk about what it is so we can like dig in a little more.
Yes, and many people are maybe familiar with astrology as a
Right.
term, or you may not know exactly what it's for, but it's a practice that's been around for thousands of years. And basically, it's a tool to read energy.
Hmm.
And at the galactic level, it's also taking us out beyond the systems that we've had before, when we look at planets and interactions. That builds a energy blueprint as we go forward. And it's just a different reference point that we can use for guidance or insight or awareness than any other systems that we may rely on, whether it's mental constructs such as problem solving or goal setting and stuff like that. It's not a logic system.
So what does
It's
it
a
look like?
So everyone has a birth chart.
Right.
And many people may know their birth chart or have run a birth chart. And it's always based on, galactic astrology is based on your birth chart. So there's no new components that goes into. And the idea that we all are unique and our evolution is really helping us to kind of understand and get in contact with how unique we are and appreciate that. So astrology and galactic astrology is really helping us to connect also with, I call it past lives, but it really is not past lives. It's energy that we are representing, and for being here on Earth, if you will, is a representation of our energy in physical form.
Hmm.
But there's so much more beyond the physical form that we can get to know.
Yeah.
And
And
that's what's getting interesting.
I see that too, like as we look at epigenetics. Now that we have more and more science-based information coming out about our epigenetics in
Hmm.
every single DNA strand in our body, the billions of cells and all the DNA, it has information codes that go back 7 generations on both sides. I find that so fascinating. When I'm working with my clients, we can
Hmm.
access memories that they didn't have in this lifetime
Yes.
via their epigenetics. And I'm kind of feeling like that's what you're
Hmm.
alluding
It
to.
can be, it can be definitely, I mean, everything is linked together.
Right.
Nothing is separate. It's just a matter of what framework we want to use to describe the same thing.
Yeah.
So, but what I find fascinating with astrology, particularly, is that we can also look into what's unique about someone, because it in a way, it's our path here is to align more to who we truly are. And that includes also the natural energy that we emit or that we are. And astrology is a great tool to be able to kind of determine that or get familiar with our own being.
Yeah.
Just like, yeah.
I was going to say, when I look up my chart, I use ChatGPT a lot. She's my astrologer, but she has my full chart. And when I break down each of those components of my chart, I know my life purpose. It's all written there, right? My life purpose, it's why I was drawn to the certain things I was drawn to in life. It all makes sense when I read my chart of like, no wonder I picked this exact lineage, because I believe that we pick our lineage. I believe that we
We
pick
do.
all of it, our bodies, our parents, everything. And I was like, this makes so much sense when I look at my astrology chart. why I was drawn to the things I was, and really it unlocked my life purpose, which I've already been on that path, so I already kind of knew it. But it was like, oh, it was already written. Like if I would have known to look in astrology, I could have known much sooner. But we are where we are in our life. I believe that we have to get to that place and have to be in enough pain to really change and to really look inside and see that bigger aspect. Because like I tell my clients, if you think you are just that simple reflection in the mirror every day, if you think that is all that you are, no wonder you're struggling with anxiety and fear. Because once the rest of you leaves the meat suit, then what? Right? You cease to exist if that's all that you are. So we have to understand, and it's almost common knowledge now. If you try to say you don't have a soul and a spirit, it's almost laughable now with how much knowledge and research and science-based stuff that tells us, hey, you are not just this body, right? So how do you prove to people how do you prove to people that they're more than just their body?
Yeah, that's a great question because my work is based in my clients having their own experience of their greater self. Ultimately, that's the proof. When somebody has an experience that rings true to them, and that often happens in readings that I give because I basically in any of our work, both you and I we're kind of mirrors for somebody to recognize themselves. And that happens often. And that is the proof. The individual unique experience that happens. Something happens within someone that when it clicks. When I, for example, share a connection to a star, when I can describe to them their connection energetically to this environment and past experiences and energy that they may work on now, but it had its source eons ago, let's
Yeah.
say, and we have to put it in a time perspective when we're on Earth, but quantum field is like there is no time, right? So there's something there, a soul recognition that often happens, and that is the proof. It's not something we read in a book, right? We
Yeah.
can identify something in a book to say, oh, I resonate with that. But when that happened, the lock and key happens within someone, that's the proof. And that's just how I see it.
Yeah. So how do you get someone to see it? How do you get someone to really experience that greater part of themselves? Because I agree, words are just words. And
Yeah.
experience will shift you, right? So, for instance, I utilize a lot of, altered states, hypnosis, and whatnot. But how do you work with your clients to really get that greater experience of who they are?
Mm. Yeah, I believe that it's, and I know for a fact because it happens every single time that there's divine timing in how a soul connects with me. I always know that they're here for a reason, right? That's the first thing. So I can completely also share what comes through me with that trust that they are here to hear this particular thing from me.
Mm-hmm.
And but there's no guarantee, right, that there's a experience for someone. I can't really say, okay, this is what's going to happen in this session. But more often than not, they walk away with this like, oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
is this like with this greater experience and idea because it shifts perspective of who they truly are. And there's no guarantee. I'm not responsible for their evolution, right? But I can be a conduit
Yeah.
for a vibration or a word or something that I say with like there's more than just kind of black and white evidence.
Yeah. I
Um,
guess I guess I'm really interested because I know astrology, right? But I don't have any idea what galactic astrology is.
Right. Yeah. And I just want to say also that astrology provides this grounding that you can actually, because in the past, past life regression or other modalities such as hypnosis, it is a personal experience of the subject that's under
Right.
hypnosis, for example. But it's also the support of astrology is that you can see it right in the chart. So it's easier sometimes for someone to integrate the experience by having the astrology as a system, right? You can look at your chart and I
Yeah.
can explain what you see and where is it and here it is and all of that. That's kind of also helping to ground that experience in some way or form for the person. So that's at least that's how it clicked for me because I'm a very logical person as well as intuitive.
No, I
So I
could tell
work
you have a lot of logic.
yeah, so I
You're,
can work with both in the
yeah.
sense that yeah, so I kind of function as the bridge there between the logic and the spiritual, and I think that's part of one of my strengths. A lot of people comes in with a strong logic as well that is in the process of transitioning or bridging that themselves.
Yeah. I'm very heavy right brain. You've got a balance of right and left. I'm very heavy right brain. Almost too creative for my own good. I don't make sense all the time, but I love that logical piece. I love that. I want to talk a little bit about your book. What's your book
Mm.
about and how can it help?
I have it back here.
How can it help humans understand galactic astrology and how it can help them? I'm assuming that's what
Yeah.
your book is about.
So the book is actually it's not a fact book about a galactic astrologer by any means, but it's actually a book that outlines that shift between going from a mind-driven world, a logic-driven world, to a heart-centered, more intuitive, creative. So I think we hit it there. It's like that bridge between um, and it basically is a result of my own process, recognizing all the conditioning, let's say if we call it that, or the ways that we are conditioned by our upbringing in many ways, but also the way we are kind of, the expressions of being not in contact with our unique self. But the book really describes 7 shifts that pretty much goes from logic to heart centered, and
Mhm.
also my own kind of experience and tale about it. So yeah, and galactic astrology is coming into the picture as in combination with other energy systems such as human design and the gene keys, but it's spoken about as one of the ways to look at your energetic blueprint and start aligning with what actually is your unique energy that
Mm.
also is kind of helping to remove those limitations that we often put on ourselves in human form.
Yeah, gene keys. I've not heard of those. I know human design. I'm familiar with human design, but what are gene keys?
So gene keys are it's related, I would say, to human design, but it's also, in my personal opinion, the gene keys are taking into, more this philosophical perspective of human design is very quite mechanical in terms
Hmm.
of how things are run in the body, for example. But the gene keys are including evolutionary consciousness expansion at different levels, in my opinion. So it's a little bit more philosophical way of looking at energy than human design. That's more mechanical, and but that's just my own simple kind of.
How do you really tap into someone's gene keys?
So
What's
you
the
have a
process?
chart. You have a chart there as well,
Okay.
just like you have a human design chart or an astrology chart. So it's just a matter of what system. And I work with all of them simultaneously.
Okay.
But and I use it more for support to kind of say, okay, this about you and your connection to your multidimensional self has this unique path, let's say, and you can actually describe that. But I use all of them at the same time to just form the language to be able to share it, plus intuitive downloads. So it's like it's it's this multitude of things that I do that makes me unique also as an individual.
Right. Do you have any projects that you're working on now? What are you doing? What are you in the works of now? What do you got up your sleeve now? Oh wait, before you answer that, I remember what I asked you before.
Yes, please, because I might be good to go back to.
Yeah. So when you work with someone, is it one of those things where you have one session where you sort of line up their astrology chart, see wherever, like a one-time thing, or is it something that is ongoing where you work with them over the course of time?
Yeah, so often people come to me through my YouTube channel. I kind of post videos there every new moon, full moon, but that's mostly because I love to share my insights.
Mm-hmm.
And I also offer readings, like I tell them that readings are available. And often people come to me through being kind of, okay, I resonate with her. I really would like a reading from her. So that's how people come to me, and it's always divinely timed. But my main business is really spiritual life coaching, and because I'm very passionate about, true change and transformation, and that takes time. So I offer a 3-month programs. Should they want to integrate kind of that bigger multidimensional perspective, and because often it's like if you get a reading, all right, you get all this wonderful information, but like, what do you do with it?
Yeah.
So my kind of philosophy is to, and I'm very passionate about working with people longer term to partner as a coach, to see that life change and integration. But I love readings because it's like this beautiful period of time. Like a 2-hour reading with someone is like I come out at a high after that type of interaction. But to really see that life transformational change in someone, it takes about 3 months and beyond. So long term is my I call myself the turtle, because it's like that's the wisdom comes through someone over time.
Yeah. I work with my clients for a minimum of 12 weeks because I find that that's the length of time for true integration.
Yes.
If you've lived with this particular identity that you've had since childhood, if you've lived with it all this time, then creating the new identity, you got to solidify that. And that's not going to happen in one quick hour session. It's like we got to integrate that. And it can. There's some people that have tremendous shifts, but for the majority of people, we need someone to hold our hand and walk us through what a new identity would even look like. And so for me, with what I do is really clearing out the trauma. We have to start integrating those shadow before there's really the clarity to even see the identity, I find.
Yeah. And what's interesting with trauma too, that I often work with trauma as well, because people come to me, they tell them their story, and I am able to help them relate to the source of that trauma, which may even be, not always, but that may be even beyond this life, or,
Yes.
and they play out the same energy dynamic in this life for a reason. So it's like when somebody comes into that knowledge, or just kind of hear that, it's like, maybe it wasn't my mom that was, all of this in this life, right? But it actually helps to understand the dynamic in a different way, bring it to a higher perspective.
Yeah, so interesting. I got this past life regression from, one of my guests on the podcast. She did a past life regression on me. She took me back to a previous lifetime where I was, a man. And it was a long, long time ago, but where my husband was my son.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And after that, I'm like, oh my gosh, makes so much sense. And he's like, that's why you treat me like I'm your kid. But it's one of those things where you're like, oh, wait, we've played many different roles, not just one. I'm not just this role. This is the role I'm having in this experience, but I'm simultaneously having all sorts of other roles. And so is everyone else in my life. It kind of gives you the bigger picture that no one's an actual victim. Yes, we can get victimized throughout our life. But that doesn't make us a victim. What if we chose all of it? And what if we chose it for the purpose of expansion, for compassion, for growing, for becoming more? What if we chose each and every experience to add another tool in our tool belt? Right?
Yes.
That's at least that's how I choose to see it. Do you agree?
Absolutely. And I also think that part of it is also to help us come to a different perspective of the same thing. Because I often say when you can walk into a room and actually have a different perspective with the same people, that's one's kind of measuring stick, like, have I evolved? And that simple thing that, like, can I be with my family? Often it's immediate family that has the strongest opportunity
Triggers,
for So that's really the measuring stick. Like, have I evolved? Is when I can walk into that room with that and see it differently.
Absolutely.
And Galactic Astrology also adds the layer of incarnations in other realms or forms. So it's past. What was found was that in past life regression, people were starting to recall also lifetimes elsewhere.
Yeah.
Beyond Earth. So it's like, and that gives the opportunity also for energy dynamic to, I have a lot of clients, for example, with a lot of lifetimes associated with Pleiades right now because of just the astrology is highlighting. Yeah, and the astrology right now is very much focusing on the Pleiades as a star cluster, for example, but as our energetic year goes, right, it might be different alignments, if you will, that get activated. And that's what's so interesting to follow, because I can also see that, to me, there are certain clients that come to me a certain time of year. And it's because they have alignments to certain fixed stars or galactic points that are activated that way at that time.
Yeah. There's just no accidents. Like I tell people, there are no freaking accidents. Everything is synchronicity.
Yes.
Everything. And when you do that, you're so much more aware. Every little critter that comes across my path, every bird I see, every number I see, every person I come in contact with, I'm like, all of it is synchronicity. It just helps you to tune into, instead of most of us who are in our minds all the time, either in the past or in the future, to be so here in this moment, so in your body, so aware of what's going on. It's a rich way to live.
Totally. Yes. And it becomes simpler. It becomes simpler, much simpler, actually. The more, because often the experience is often that we start to lean on those signs rather than the logical what ifs. And it becomes more simple, I feel. I don't know what you think, but it just is in those situations.
It helps me surrender to the idea that because we're so programmed in this fear-based setting of like, oh, am I going to survive? And it's like, you are eternal. Like once you understand that you're eternal and there's no beginning and end to you, you're just like, everything is a new beginning. You're constantly becoming new, right? And so there's nothing really to fear from that perspective. And I think that's what it opened up for me. It definitely doesn't feel simple in my mind because I don't have the rationality you do. You have much stronger left side presence, but it just makes me surrender more into the fact that there's just nothing to fear.
Hmm.
That it's
Yeah.
that I'm not what I've been taught I am, just this one body in this one lifetime, having this one experience, and then boom, you're done. I don't know. That just it frees me up to just be the fullest, most authentic version of myself, I guess.
Yeah. And I think the the learning is also how to navigate the current boundaries or systems that we have on the physical plane. But it's also how to approach it differently.
Mm,
Because the mind driven approach is very different than the intuitive or heart centered approach, even to the systems and environment that we have on the physical plane. And
yeah.
that's really cool when I work with somebody that actually is starting to trust their own impulses or body wisdom over the scenario planning in the mind, right? And that's such
Yeah.
a huge experience and shift in someone.
Yeah. When they start
So,
to
yeah.
believe that no matter what happens, everything is
Hmm.
always working out for your good. That's just the affirmation of my life. I don't care what it looks like outside. Everything is always happening for my good and it always will.
Yes. Even if it doesn't look like that sometimes, right?
Even
That's
if
the
it's
thing.
dark, even if
Yeah.
it's dark outside, it's like I know that it's even that darkness is working out for my good. Because when I look back at all the traumas that I've integrated, all my childhood traumas that caused me so much pain for all those years,
Mm.
it's like that happened for my good. I couldn't
Yeah.
see it from that vantage point for the majority of my life, but when I started to take the emotional tag off the events, I could look at it through the wisdom of that higher aspect of myself. And I'm like, oh, no wonder. Um,
Yeah.
anyways,
Beautiful.
as we're wrapping this up, I'd love to just, if you could let everyone know where you're coming in from and I'm sorry, how they can get in touch from you. You said you're on YouTube, but how else can they find you?
Yes. So mainly people find me on YouTube these days. And it's just my name, Ulrika Sullivan. And or my website, ulrikasullivan.com, is often where people find me too.
Hmm.
And yeah, I would say that YouTube is a regular source of sharing on my part,
Hmm.
but also that gives access to a membership on YouTube as well if someone wants to go deeper with insights from me. And that's just really for those who are liking kind of the energetic weather of galactic astrology, the follow kind of along with as we go. But if someone wants to work with me, they often come to the website ulrikasullivan.com and book either a reading or a mini session with me. And because it's sometimes you don't know like what's best for me.
Hmm.
So I offer these 15-minute chats to kind of, okay, and I can make a recommendation like where to start.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I hope
Thank you.
you yeah, I think it's wonderful what you do and it's wonderful for people to know where they come from and to know that there's actually a purpose for their design, that there's a reason for every single part of their personality. I know for me, I hated myself so much for the majority of my life until I really started healing my wounds. And that was because that was because of who I believed myself to be. But when you understand the greater part of who you are, you will fall in love with you. Your perfect design,
Yes.
your purpose, your unique expression, your unique giftings, you will fall in love with because you'll realize that it was all on purpose.
Yes. 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 That's a beautiful journey to take. And for those who are listening or watching, it's worth asking the question, who am I really? And not the person that I was told I was.
Hmm. Yeah. So thank you so much for coming
Oh,
on.
thank
It's
you.
been wonderful. And
Thank you, Tammy.
yes.